Hello, theme park enthusiasts, and welcome back to Planet Coaster. In this episode, I'm going to go ahead and put in the buildings that go around the Rattler here in my recreation of Cliffs Amusement Park. So what I went ahead and did is I put a train into testing here, right in the area where I'm going to build the first of the buildings here, so that way I could make sure that I got the height right on the building, so I wasn't going to be, chopping the heads off the guests when they were coming through. I wanted to add to the ride just like it does in real life, without it being something that's going to be a hazard or anything of that nature. So, just putting together, I had to use stone here. The building actually on the ride is metal, but I felt like this stone casting here worked well enough, as it sort of gave that aluminum siding type of feel to it, which is what I was going for here. I did have some, I ended up trying some different roofing options here to see what would look right. This is aluminum, which is what I wanted as far as texture, but I didn't like the angles on it, so I ended up here going with a flat panel of metal in the end. Wasn't exactly perfect, but it was what I could do, so I went ahead and did that here. As you'll see in just a few minutes. Right now I'm trying to get the walls up for the building. I end up changing this quite a bit because, as I said, I didn't really have a total plan going into this. The actual building in real life actually has a curve to it, so it basically sort of follows the train path along and curves with it. I'm not able to do that in-game, so I sort of had to deal with what I could. As I said, here I am looking at the different textures of the roofing materials, trying to find the one that I feel looks best towards that aluminum look. I was either going to go with the one of the early ones that I saw, or this is the one that I ended up going with. As I said, I think they both would have worked. This one I'm happy with, other than the fact I really do wish I could have made it white like the walls, because it is an all-white building in real life, and I do want to keep it as close as I possibly can. Excuse me. So I got these pieces put into place, then tried to figure out the rest of the walls here, and then sort of debated on if I liked the near miss element or if I felt it was too much of an issue. So go ahead and test the train here, wait for it to drop down and see how it is from a rider's perspective. And I felt like that was a little bit on the close side, so first tried moving it around a little bit just to get it oriented and seeing if that was enough for my taste or what it was that I wanted to do with it. I decided that I at least wanted to lift up part of it, and then the more I looked at it, I sort of decide, it's just better if I lift it up more. So these pieces had to be adjusted. Here I'm struggling to look at it to see if it really fits as I wanted to. Again, this is all trial and error, and then, as I said, I just sort of decided, it'd be better if I just make it a square building here. Doesn't exactly do what I wanted, but it is what I can do within the limitations of the game. I would love in the sequel, Planet Coaster 2, if they do make it in the end, for them to have something where I can, or go along the pathing of the actual train itself. That would be a great thing. I don't know if they will have that, but if they had sort of a tunnel feature to it where you could basically make tunnels out of things other than just rock, but tunnels out of different building materials, that would be a wonderful thing, I think, for the game. And that way you could sort of follow the natural curves without having the issues that I'm sort of struggling with here. So here I decided this one I wanted to extend further because it is a fairly long one that goes over this little bunny hill here at the actual park. So again, trying to make it as close as I can to what I wanted. Get this all set up, put the roof on here, and then I realized that this wall right here is not in the proper position, so I have to move it inwards. And especially with all the track and everything, it is not the easiest thing to get these pieces and get them to move. So, it takes me a little bit here doing that. But now that this coaster will be complete after this episode, I plan on the next episode going ahead and putting in some of the flat rides that now go around this. This area toward the back of the park here is somewhat of a kids portion of the park, even though there is a Ring of Fire here as well. So I do figure I'm going to definitely put it in the Ring of Fire as the next ride in the park, and then I'll probably go ahead and look at putting in some of the kids rides as well back here. There also is another small coaster that goes into that back portion, so I will be looking at doing that possibly as well in the next episode. So we'll have to see what all I can get done in that particular episode. Here I'm on another portion of the Rattler where there is the portion that goes underground. I decided for the actual part that's underground, I'm not going to go ahead and build a building around it. On the real ride, you're in a building the entire time, but just because of the length of the tunnel that I had to create to make it sort of work properly, I decided to go ahead and just put the building here at the sort of exterior of the hole, and then have another building on the opposite side. And the actual underground portion itself will just be cavern. I will take you on a POV ride of the entire thing at the end of the video here, just before we finish pretty much. But getting these walls put into place, this building is a different color. This one is sort of orangish wood, so I was able to find wood that worked definitely for it. Went ahead and used that. Looking back at it, I do realize I probably could have used the same wood to get the aluminum look I was looking for instead of the metal that I used, but I'm okay with the metal choice in the end. I think it'll work fine for what it is. Here I'm just trying to get the walls sort of set up and sort of close in the building. Then I was trying to figure out how to fill in the ground around the building, and one of the problems I keep running into, you'll see here, is as I fill in the ground, it does make it where the actual area the train goes through is then blocked off. So when I open up the area for the train to go through, or the coaster to go through, it then goes ahead and causes an issue with making holes in the ground. So I sort of am fighting back and forth with that. Each time I would adjust one, I would have issues on the other side. Here we have a random hole that came up here, so I have to smooth that out. Tried smoothing this area out, but there is no smoothing that hole without having it sort of fill in. So what I decided to do instead is I decided to attach some wood flooring basically to the building, so it looks like it's for some reason a part of the building there. It's not exactly perfect, but it was the best case solution that I had in the situation. Now, like the other side there where I had used the white building and just copied over, I had hoped I'd be able to do the same here. That was not the case, and again when I tried to flatten out the ground here, sort of trapped in the roller coaster a bit more there. I ended up having to actually come from this side in order to get through this area. As I said, it is a lot of back and forth here, trying to get this to be open enough, yet without it being a major issue. So, trying to fill it in there a little bit, but not have it screw up the actual train ride itself, and it did, so had to open it up again. Then I have to build a entirely different building here than the one I had on the other side because the hole is different size. So I go ahead and sort of take what I had learned from the previous building, start applying it over here, changed it up as far as the size, but same style and everything. As I said, because really on the actual ride it is one continuous building, so I wanted to sort of have that feel. Here I'm just putting in more of that flooring to just sort of cover the area that I don't want as far as a whole. Now, because of the fact that this is a wider building, I have to use sort of a central roof portion, as you see right here. So I go ahead and put that in. Not a huge deal for it. Then I look at it and felt like the building was a little bit on the small side, so I wanted to bring it out a bit more. give it a little bit of architectural interest here. So we go ahead and put in an elevated portion here, and with that then I have to figure out the whole roofing situation. Once I have that taken care of, I can go ahead and put roof panels on top here. Realize I had to move these walls in. It doesn't look exactly perfect, but it looks pretty close. And the side that it doesn't look perfect from is one that the guests won't be able to even see on the train because they'll be riding going away from that. So, works out okay, I think. As I said, with doing a recreation like this in Planet Coaster, I have two choices basically. I could either do something like this, where I make some, I guess you could say, artistic choices to make it work, or the other option I would have is to go ahead and really take hours upon hours trying to make it exactly perfect by having to sort of handcraft something, and I'm just not willing to spend that level of time on the details of certain rides to make them exact. It is, after all, recreation, and I prefer using the stuff that's sort of in the game already versus having to sort of construct something out of a few sticks over and over again to make it more accurate to what it is. So with the two sides now being set up, I've gone ahead and I'm working on the building for the actual station itself. This is a stucco building actually for the ride, and so I went with stucco overall. Color was perfect the way it was, and I'm just making some changes here in the pieces so that way I can go ahead and have it allow for the entrance, the exit, and the train portions as well. Fairly basic building overall, nothing too exotic about it, whatnot. Really, one of the things in this area is going to be sort of the foliage and such, so I will be putting trees in and such later. I figure I sort of want to get all the rides into the park, and then I'll go ahead and start putting in things like the plants and whatnot. Now here I wanted a piece that would go over top the entranceways, so it would look like they were supposed to be there, but at the same time it would just allow for the giant opening of the entrance. So here I am playing around with the different pieces, trying to figure out which ones I liked for it. I sort of did like that circular piece, but I needed then to find a lower wall piece that would allow for that upper cream colored detail to it. Once I found that, I went ahead and put them on the different areas. And then I sort of felt like, the one piece in the middle just didn't work, it wasn't enough. So I went ahead and put one on each or two on each side, just to give it a little bit more visual interest. Got some roofing pieces in place, and then I needed to worry about the lighting here, because especially with a roof on this, even in the daylight, it's going to be a little bit dark in there. So I go ahead, look through the lighting, found a sort of basic lamp that I felt fit. Wasn't exactly what I would hope for, but it did work quite nicely for the overall theme of the place. I think that it fit within the time period or the style. So get those set up in between the window areas. And then I'll also put a couple on each of the side walls as well, just to make sure that at nighttime the ride is well lit. With all of that in place, now that the ride is sort of finished, decide to take a ride on it here. I will sort of put it at normal speed as we go on this. Then at the very end here, you'll see me put in just the entrance path for the queue line and such, because it was completely filled. I wanted to make sure there was enough room for guests so that we could have a longer queue. So you'll see me do that at the very end, as well as put a sign on the side of it to name the Rattler. But with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and let you enjoy the rest of the ride here on the coaster. This is at just the standard speed for it. And if you enjoyed the video, please go ahead and click that like button. If you've not already, please subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon, so that you're aware when I produce new videos in the future. Thank you. I hope to see you all again for the next episode of Planet Coaster.